What's poppin'? I'm just kidding. Who am I? Hi. What's up, guys? So, we finally made it to the promised land. We're at the quadratic formula. So, here we are. Real quick, this is not supposed to say the same exact thing. I don't even know if any of you picked that up. But I'm going to be doing your entire homework 10 with you today so that you have something to look back on if you're able to get a head start for Thursday's lesson. Make sure you can kind of apply the quadratic formula. Again, I'm not giving you any assignments due. However, your PrepWorks module, the factoring, is going to be due on Sunday. Guys, please use this week to your advantage. If you haven't done assignments, if you've got missing assignments, if you haven't caught up on your PrepWorks, if you have not finished a lot of Math Excel, I know a lot of you have not, please, this is the week to do it. Please don't put it off and worry about it until the end, beginning of June. Don't do that. This week is the perfect week to be able to catch up on missing work. Please, please, please. A couple of you are already texting me, which is great. Make sure you catch up on your missing work, especially because you've got 2 NWEAs this week and no assignments due for me. No teacher should have any lessons on this Wednesday, this Friday, and then next week, whenever the science NWEA is, okay? So just make sure you're using this time wisely. I know it's tempting to not do anything, but please use it wisely. Ask me if you need any help. All right, so the quadratic formula is the, mysterious formula that everyone talks about, but it's really not that mysterious. It's a formula. If you plug in the values, you'll get an answer. It's that simple. So here it is. The hardest part about it is remembering it, to be honest. Okay, I'm going to do this example with you. We're going to go into homework 10. I'm going to do all 12 of those problems, and I'm going to have you go on your merry way. I will see you hopefully tomorrow. For the 10 of you that actually watch my videos, thank you. Keep going strong. We're almost at the end. All right, so the first thing we need to do is make sure it's in standard form. This is ax squared plus bx minus or plus c. Set it equal to 0, okay? That's step 1. Step 2 is identify a, b, c. Well, that's pretty easy. A is 1. B is -5, and C is -36. This will come in handy when we are getting ready to plug it in our formula. I can't get this right today. Plug it in. You know what's wrong? Is that there it is. The arm is like a little tired lately since I've been using it so much. So here's the formula. X equals, why is it equal to X? Well, because we're going to get X values as our answers. So if your B is negative, what's going to go here for negative b? Well, that means a negative b, when in this case it's 5, plus or minus. That means we're going to do 2 situations. The square root of b squared. So -5 squared minus 4 times a times c. A little squishy there, but it comes exactly from the formula right here. 4 times 1, which is a, times c, which is -36. Okay, that is all going to be divided by 2 times 1. All I have to do now is some math. Substitute, simplify. So let's simplify what's easy first. We've got -5, which is just 5, plus or minus the square root. Okay, what's -5 squared? That's going to be 25 minus, now we got to do a little calculator for some of us, me included. It's late, I'm tired, I don't want to think right now. So we have to do basically what's inside here. So we've got to do 4. We know that this is a negative. This is -4 times 1. Obviously it's -4, but -4 times -36 gives us a positive 144. So we've got 25 minus 144 all over 2 times 1, or just 2. So this is now one step closer to being simplified. I'm going to set it over here to be one step closer even. So 5 plus or minus, and then I want to get what is, wait, did I make a mistake? Yes, catch my mistake. This right here is a positive, and this becomes a positive. This should be plus 144. 25 plus 144 is the square root of 169 over 2. Do we know what the square root of 169 is? If you recall, we do. square root of 169 is 13. So we are going to have this equal. So x equals 5 plus or minus 13 divided by 2. Now, since these are all numbers, we can get an actual solution. It doesn't have to be an expression. So we're going to get a solution. So we're going to take it 2 steps. 5 plus 13. What is 5 plus 13? 18. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 5 minus 13. You listen, right? 5 minus 13 is negative 8. Negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Some people like to write least to greatest. I honestly, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever, do what you feel. So that's it. That's the quadratic formula. It's nothing big and scary, as you may have thought. However, with a radical, we're going to get some irrational solutions and we're going to have to simplify them. But that's okay. That's nothing bad. All right, let's go to homework 10. The quadratic formula is on the top of homework 10 for you, just so you can reference that until you get familiar with it and memorize it. All right, let's go. So number 1, we've got a equals 1, b equals negative 2, c equals negative 48, and we're going to plug those values into our guy up here. So x equals negative b. Well, b is already negative, so negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 2 squared, minus 4 times a times c. Okay, see how we filled the numerator in? Negative b. Well, b was negative, so it's negative, plus or minus the square root of, and by the way, we've seen this before. I know I haven't brought it back to you yet. This is the discriminant. It's used to find number of solutions. Just that part alone. This part right here is used to find the number of solutions. All right. Not even the square root, just b squared. Oh, okay. Just this part, b squared minus 4ac. Not even the square root. Anyway, we're going to put this over 2 times a, which is just 2, and then simplify. So this is going to equal 2 plus or minus the square root of 4. And again, we've got to calculate some things. We know that the sign is going to be positive because it's a negative times a negative. And we've got to do 48 times 4. Well, 48 times 4 is 192. We're going to put it over 2. We're going to simplify even further. So 2 plus or minus the square root of 196 over 2. Now, I don't know if you're going to believe me, but the square root of 196 is 14. So we're going to do 2. So did I say 114? Oh my god, it's 14. 2 plus or minus 14 divided by 2. Now, since this is actually able to be solved, we're going to solve it. Do some quick mental math. 2 plus 14, 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 2 minus 14 is negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. And you're done. Not bad. I'd prefer this versus completing the square. Now, with solving quadratic equations, this will always work. Always, always, always. No questions asked. Factoring will not always work. Okay, so this is always here for you when anything else doesn't work. So in this case, a equals 6, b equals negative 15, c equals what? What do we do when there's no c? Well, if there's nothing, that means it's 0. Okay? X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 6 times 0. Wonder what's going to happen there. All over 2 times 6. All right. So we're going to simplify this a little further. We get 15 plus or minus the square root of 225. Why is that it? Take a look at this. 0 times anything is 0. So this would just be 225 minus 0. So I'm going to leave it like that, divided by 12. All right. Well, the square root of 225 equals 15. So 15 plus or minus 15 over 12. Okay, what is 15 plus 15? This one we're going to have to write out a little bit. So in option 1, we've got 30 over 12, which simplifies to, if you divide by 6, you get 5 over 2. And then in the other case, you get 0 over 12, which simplifies to 0. So we get 5 over 2 and 0 as our solutions. Okay, let's make sure we understand how to get that. So 225, the square root is 15. Why did we get nothing else under here from here? It's because 0 times 6 is 0, times negative 4 is also 0. So it would just be minus 0. We didn't need to waste our time writing that, but since we're here, we might as well. So when you get to this step, you have to take it in each situation. This means plus or minus. So you have to do both cases. So 15 plus 15 is 30, 15 minus 15 is 0, and then you simplify using the same denominator on each one. All right, number 3. Is this in standard form? No, so we have to get it into standard form. So we can do two things. We can subtract this 7, or we can add everything to the right to keep your x squared term positive. In this case, it doesn't really matter so much because you're not factoring. You can recognize that a is negative 1, so it's okay. We're going to move this 7 over here. So we've got negative x squared plus 8x minus 7 equals 0. That means that a is negative 1, b is 8, and c is negative 7. Let's plug it in. X equals negative b, so negative 8, plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times negative 1 times negative 7. How many negatives do you see? 1, 2, 3. That should tell you that what this product is will be negative because there's an odd number of negatives being multiplied. Okay, on the bottom, you do 2 times a, and a in this case is negative 1. Okay, let's simplify. So negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus, we can do this one mentally if you want, you can use a calculator, but 4 times 1 is 4, times 7 is 28. We know it's negative. All divided by negative 2. Simplifying further, negative 8 plus or minus the square root. What is 64 minus 28? Now, I'm not ashamed to say I'm going to use my calculator for that. 36. Quick math. Over negative 2. Now let's simplify. So x is going to be equal to negative 8 plus or minus, the square root of 36 is 6, over negative 2. Okay? Let's do some mental math. Negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1. Negative 8 minus 6 is negative 14. Negative 14 divided by negative 2 is a positive 7. I just want to make sure I'm doing these right for you. Hold on. Yep. 1, 7. Good. Okay. Number 4, we've got to add this over. And we've got to subtract the constant. So what we get is x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 0. A is 1, b is 6, c is 9. All right, x equals negative b, so negative 6, plus or minus the square root of 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. Guys, it's really as exciting as it gets. Okay, simplify, we get negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 36. Interesting. Over 2. This becomes negative 6 plus or minus 0. If you want to put the square root, you can, all divided by 2. So our answer, let's take a look at how this is going to feel, because I know you guys are like, wait, what? It's 0, square root 0, 0. Yes, good. Good job. So negative 6 plus or minus 0 divided by 2. Let's see what that looks like. What is negative 6 plus 0? Negative 6. What's negative 6 divided by 2? Negative 3. Okay. What's negative 6 minus 0? Negative 6 divided by 2? Negative 3. There's only one solution here. Okay, this parabola opens up, so it would be something, we're not going to find the vertex real quick, but it would be something that would touch, actually, it would be something that would touch here, this is the vertex, and go up like this. This is what your graph would look like for this problem. One solution, the discriminant gave you 0. That's how you know it's a parabola that has one x-intercept, and that's how we have one x-intercept. Okay, we can easily solve this using the difference of squares. We can solve this using square roots. However, I want you to practice using the quadratic formula. This is in standard form already, so a equals 4, b equals 0, c equals negative 25. So, negative 0, or just 0, plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4 times 4 times negative 25. You see that? B squared minus 4 times A times C. All divided by 2 times A. All right. 0 plus or minus the square root of, this is going to be a positive 16, or 100, right? 100 times 4, which is 400. All divided by 8. Right? That equals 0 plus or minus 20 over 8. 0 plus 20. This is not one like this. I want you to see the difference between these two. Pay attention to these two. So we've got a 0 in both of them. However, take a look at where the 0 is positioned. One is after, one is before, so that changes the whole value of these problems. So since the discriminant was not 0, this has two solutions. This problem has to have two solutions. The discriminant is greater than 1. Okay, it's greater than 1. It has to have two solutions. So 0 plus 20, let's do it right here. 0 plus 20 is 20, 20 over 8. So 20 over 8, simplified, divide them both by 4, you get 5 over 2. What about 0 minus 20? You get negative 5 over 8. Sorry, negative 20 over 8. And that's not the same as this. That gives you negative 5 over 2. So your answers are basically positive negative 5 over 2. Two solutions. Can you write it like this? Yes. Can you write it out like two solutions? Positive, negative? Absolutely. No big deal. Okay, this one had two solutions. You need to understand why. The discriminant, negative 400, is greater than 1. It has to have two solutions. This discriminant equaled 0. When it equals 0, it has one solution. That's why these are different. This is 0 minus something. This is this minus or plus 0, which does not affect it. Remember, the rules of addition with this, if that's the identity property, it doesn't change. This is not when you have the subtraction with it. Okay, subtract x, add 12. This becomes 6x squared plus 17x plus 12 equals 0. Even if we wanted to factor this one, we couldn't. So a equals 6, B equals 17, C equals 12. Fun stuff. B squared, so no, not yet. Negative B, so negative 17, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times 6 times 12. Definitely going to use my calculator. All over 2 times A. 4 times A times C. Okay. So here we go. Negative 17 plus or minus 17 squared equals 289. This is going to be minus, so let's just do 24 times 12, 288, all over 12. Simplify that. Negative 17 plus or minus, well, 289 minus 288 is 1 over 12. All right, guys, so the square root of 1 is 1. This is not greater than 1, it's greater than 0. Sorry. All right, so this right here, we get negative 17 plus or minus 1 all over 12. All right, let's take it step by step. We've got negative 17 plus 1 becomes negative 16 over 12. We've got negative 17 minus 1, which is negative 18 over 12, both of which can be reduced. So our answer becomes negative 4 over 3 and 3 over 2. There you go. You've got to reduce these guys. You know what? I think that's a lot of quadratic equations for today. You know what I want you to do? I want you to try to do 1 through 8 in the lesson. Okay, we just did 6 problems that were non-irrational, so they were rational solutions. And I think you got to see a lot of types where you had to move into standard form, where you had 0, you had 1 solution. I want you to try 1 through 6. No, sorry, 1 through 8. I want you to try 1 through 8 on your lesson, all right? Tomorrow's your NWEA for English. So on Thursday when we resume, we're going to go over the back and irrational solutions. We're going to practice those together, okay? Come to office hours if you need help. I will talk to you soon. I will talk to you soon. Bye.